Good afternoon. For 4 News Now, I'm Rob King. Coming up tomorrow, KXLY's Robin Nance is doing a special report looking at the dangers of eating disorders, as well as highlighting an organization that is here to help. To talk a little bit more about it, we'll bring in Miss Robin Nance. Robin, I gave just a really brief overview as to what your special's on. Why don't you give us a little more detail as to what you're going to be talking about tomorrow?
Sure. A lot of people, and even I didn't realize how incredibly dangerous eating disorders were until I had some personal experience with one. But one person dies every 52 minutes with an eating disorder or in relation to. So there's a lot of treatments, but a lot of them are very, very similar, where they just try to change a behavior. So they're not looking at other things other than here you are, you're not eating, so you have anorexia, so you're withdrawing food from yourself, or you're binging and purging, so we're going to try to change that behavior. But this new program that's in Spokane really looks at treating the person, treating the actual trait, what makes a person who they are. And that's different than most other eating disorder treatments, where they look at just changing what they're doing. I focus on a young woman here in Spokane. She's born and raised here. Her name is Megan, and she was brave enough to talk about this on camera. And her story is really, I think, probably pretty typical. Right before the pandemic, she, was in school and was kind of living her life. She was in theater and, really involved in school, and then all of a sudden, things start changing with the pandemic, and she starts kind of like losing touch with fitting in. And then she goes off to college, and with the pandemic, she's not able to go to classes. There's just a whole lot of things with her that started spiraling very, very slowly, and she didn't even realize that she was falling into these traps of an eating disorder. It's a really powerful story that she tells, and I'm so grateful that she did that.
Yeah, because I guess anecdotally, you think of an eating disorder as being maybe a vanity thing.
Right. And one would think that if you don't know more. And really, there's so many intricate pieces about how it starts and what the eating disorder really, it talks to a person, and it changes their outlook on things. And a lot of these people will name their eating disorder. And like, for instance, Megan, I don't mention it in the story, but Megan names hers Ed. ED for eating disorder, Ed. And to be honest with you, a lot do. I've read a few books about it, and almost all of them say put a name to what it is, because it is not you. It is kind of an outside force talking to you, trying to get you to behave a certain way. And it's really interesting, and it's really complicated, which is why I think there are so many people who go without treatment, or who wait a really long time, or they're trying to get in. I know that my daughter, and I talked just briefly about it in the story, but my oldest child suffered with an eating disorder, and we tried to get her into all kinds of treatments, and it also was during the pandemic. There was waiting lists, there was insurance issues, and it was very, very difficult to get her help. And when we finally did, I found myself crying on the phone and begging for a clinic to help her. And finally, she got in somewhere. But it's also something that you just don't automatically, it isn't fixed. It's something that a lot of these people fight every day for their lives. And my daughter ended up in a facility twice, 2 different times, 1 year apart. Lots of therapy, medications, but thank goodness for her, this is really, she's come out of it on the other end. Now, I wish we had this program that I'm going to introduce you to tomorrow night. This program seems amazing. It is really a supplement. It doesn't take place of all eating disorder treatments. It kind of supplements or augments other treatments. And it is called temperament-based treatment with supports. And a young woman in Spokane brought this here. She has studied brain disorders, and she's just amazing. So her name is Krista Crotty. She is a PhD. She actually teaches at Gonzaga. She has her own private practice, but she's brought this TBTS to Spokane, and it really focuses not just on working with that patient, but it's with working with their support system, which is what is so lacking in the other treatments. At least a parent on the outside can tell you that's what we miss so much. We begged and pleaded with the therapists. How do we help her? What do we do? How do we, do we lock our cupboards if my daughter is, raiding the cabinets and then we wake up and there's no food in the house? How do we, address things? How do we say things? You're walking on eggshells and you have no idea what to do. This new treatment works with the patient, but works with the family. It's a 5-day intensive treatment, and the patient and their support system, whether it be parents, siblings, boyfriend or girlfriends, significant others, they also go through the treatment with this person for 5 days, 8 hours a day for 40 hours. And it really helps that support system understand what it's like to have an eating disorder and how to go about helping their loved one. And I, like I said, would have loved to have had something like this when we were going through the thick of it.
What was one of the things that really surprised you when you dove into this? I mean, having that personal experience, you're going to have more knowledge than someone who hasn't. But what did surprise you then when you went in to do a deep dive on it?
Well, gosh, I think just sitting down talking to Krista, the PhD, and her therapy, just learning about, I think, truly the whole support system part, which is so intricate in this. Just, feeling like you just are lost and you want so desperately to help and you don't understand. For me, it was like, why don't you just stop throwing up? Why don't you just stop, starving yourself? Why don't you just stop working out so much? Because to me, just don't do that, and it seems so easy. It is so complicated, and the brain gets, it's a brain defect that just starts, taking them down a path, and we can't understand what it's like. And
well, hearing you describe that also sounds like someone going through alcohol or drug treatment, that you just don't drink as much.
Just don't do that. Yeah. And with food, you need food to survive.
Sure.
So, it's not like if you don't have alcohol, you're still going to live, but you have to have food to survive. And yet if you're starving yourself, or you're eating so much and then making yourself throw up, and then it's so complicated, and it's so horrible to seriously watch someone you love slowly start killing themselves, and you are helpless. So I think for me, not as the patient, but as a parent who wanted nothing more than to just save her child, hearing that there is help for that, the whole unit, the person and the family or the support system, is so key. I would have loved to have had just a little bit of that kind of treatment. We had, when my daughter was going through it, she ended up in a clinic in Bellevue, and thank goodness she got in. But they had, I think we did 2 or 3 like family therapies. They were like 45 minutes each for 3 times. I got nowhere.
So not as impactful as
it
this
did
new
not.
organization.
I was left with so many more questions and still felt so lost, that this is, I think, going to make a huge difference. And it's a fairly new treatment. It was pioneered initially in Norway, and it's in Norway, it's in Australia, and there are 2 places in Spokane, or in the United States, that does it. Krista is one of them. So she's seeing people coming from all over the country trying to get in and get her services. And I just hope that it expands. I hope I hope this is just the beginning of what's going to crop up all over.
Well, Robin, I'm glad that you're shining a light on this organization. It sounds extremely important, and I look forward to seeing your special report tomorrow.
Great.
Is there anything
Thanks,
else you want to add?
Nope. Yeah, I just hope you watch it. And once it goes up on air, after it airs on TV, we'll put it on the website as well. And I'm going to put some links in there to Krista's information, as well as, just some information you might not know about eating disorders and things to look for, signs. It's really good stuff.
Awesome. Robin, thank you so much for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Rob.
And like Robin said, you can watch that special report tomorrow in 4 News Now at 6. It'll be up on our website, kxly kxly-extras.com, as well as our free KXLY Plus streaming app where all our videos on demand live. You can watch that there. That's it for me for the day. Coming up at 4 p.m., we're going to have a KXLY Plus live update, which will take you through the top local headlines. But for now, live in studio, I'm Rob King for 4 News Now.